Hi! We're doing a tier list of the top 10 most impactful losses to the standard format upon the rotation of Regulation F, right?
Yeah, Regulation F.
F cards. The last yellow border cards that we have.
Only the cool gray bordered cards.
We're losing Brilliant Stars through Silver Tempest, and we're here to talk to you.
Actually, it's Crown Zenith.
Oh, right.
Before we get into this video, make sure that you fellow Spoon viewers make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell to get those notifications, and also make sure to use code SPOON for 10% off of products from Endgame. We have a sample here. Very nice sleeves.
Very great.
Would recommend.
EndgameTCG.ca.
Oh, yeah,
EndgameTCG.ca.
What's our number 10 then of most impactful cards that we'll be losing in this upcoming F block rotation?
Number 10, Hisuian Heavy Ball.
It gets your basics. You know, people can play these greedy lists with one of basics, and as long as they get consistent item search, you always get the heavy ball. It gives you more outs. Just make sure you can find some stuff to play with.
Everybody that's played the Pokemon trading card game knows how horrible of a mechanic prize cards are, and Hisuian Heavy Ball helps you mitigate that horrible problem of, oh no, I prized my Radiant Greninja, I can't draw cards.
I'm sure Pokemon at some point down the road is going to make another mechanic to let you manipulate your prizes a little bit, but Heavy Ball, we've just had this for so long, we're so used to it, and for a while we may not get access to our prizes consistently.
We had Gladian before, we had Heavy Ball.
There's
Peonia.
We had Peonia.
Peonia, yeah.
There's no replacement for this currently. Not at the rate of Hisuian Heavy Ball. You just play it as an item.
Not at the moment, but on the
We
bright
have Daisy.
we do have Daisy, but at least with Heavy Ball, you can shove more Pokemon in your deck that you might only play one of. Now you might have to play two of, which it'll hurt, but you know you can kind of play around it a little bit.
Number 9,
From Silver Tempest, correct?
Kirlia from Silver Tempest.
Everybody who's played the game for the past 2 years or so has known the power of Gardevoir EX, and having its own engine in its own stage 1 was such a huge help in discarding energy cards to fuel its attackers like Baby Gardevoir, Zacian V, Drifloon, Screamtail, what have you. It was the whole centralizing force behind Gardevoir's success.
The deck probably can still get away with like some other set of Pokemon. Reverum is one that lets you still do like a discard function to draw cards, but being able to just have all of these have this entire engine condensed into your main like line was such a convenient feature that Guardy just kind of loses access to, and arguably will make the deck worse.
Yeah, I think the deck's probably dead unless there's some sort of easy engine that can... It's not like Charizard where all you have to do is evolve Charizard. You have to like dig through your deck and get almost to the bottom of it. Where Charizard, like, that doesn't really need to happen. You just evolve your guy and you attack. With having to get Gardevoir EX, whatever engine that replaces it, and your attacker and energies in the discard, that's like a lot to ask now.
It could happen, but it's going to be a real big struggle for this deck in particular, for sure. Number 8, we have the Lost Engine, which consists of a lot of cards here. The main one we put was, Mirage Gate, but this is also including Comfy, Colress, Experiment. You can throw stuff in there like Cramorant, Sableye. You could talk about like Giratina VSTAR, those kind of things, but just this whole engine that came out in Lost Origins, that it was always a dominant threat in Standard for several months and years.
Yeah, for a while it was the top contender. Started to see less play with Kyurem being released and nerfing it, but it still rears its ugly head every once in a while.
I feel like Kyurem was kind of a weird include in a set with Lost Zone being so old that it didn't really need a counter like that. I didn't think it was that dominant to the point where we needed to have a counter printed to it. I feel like Kyurem is more of a future-proofing card for Colress's Tenacity, which was printed in the same set as it, but it kind of just got caught in the cloud over there, I think.
It's probably like one of those cases where they designed the counter to Lost Zone so far in advance, but the meta just evolved past that, and the card was already like designed and printed.
They wanted to print a Colress card in the same set as Kyurem, but I think Kyurem was to counter the
No,
VSTAR. I think so.
It's just so that you don't have a standard where Kyurem's looking for Colresses that don't exist.
Kyurem has done a better job at killing Lost Zone than Drapion or Spiritomb did trying to kill UV Max.
But regardless, even with Kyurem still existing, Lost Zone, we have seen even in a world full of Kyurems, the deck still does get some performances, get some tops.
Yep.
Got second at a regionals one time in a Kyurem legal format. Special notice to Colress Experiment, seeing play in even more than just Lost Zone decks, just being a consistent way to get accrue a good amount of cards into your hand for a supporter, not having to lose that many resources to do so. But
Yeah, it's like Guffey said, C5 take 3 is pretty good.
Shout out Bardura.
yeah, are probably better in Explorer's Guidance in a lot of
Yeah,
situations.
actually.
But we will miss the Lost Engine, but I think we'll be okay without this one. But
Good
definitely at 8, just because of how impactful it's been for so many years.
Subscribe for Dog.
True. Number 7, we have the Block Snorlax, the Boogeyman of Pogo.
Come rotation, we won't have to tech for block anymore. It'll be a grand day, but I'm sure we'll get some kind of replacement.
Azul won that one European regional with block, but I'm pretty sure that was before Flute was printed.
It might have been. And it was like Stockholm, right? Was the one he won or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very adaptable deck because of how generic its strategy is. It can adapt to whatever the format calls for. The more cards we see printed for control strategies, and the later in the lifetime a control deck has, the more success it will have because it has more tools to work with.
I feel like in particular now, like it almost has like a critical mass where this deck is something you always have to have on your radar no matter what.
Yeah.
With like so many ways to just put Pokemon in your opponent's field, so many ways to take advantage of you not taking prizes. The deck having multiple walls it can even angle through that aren't just the block legs itself now.
The printing of Counter Catcher and Paradox Rift is huge.
That was
for blocks.
Massive.
That was the big one, yeah. But
Other niche cards like Boxed Order, even Pokegear existing again.
Yep.
We're losing Wawa.
we have
There's-
there's Water Pond. Water Pond does kind of a similar thing. It's just
Good riddance again.
Good riddance.
Just like Lost Zone.
Says the Lugia player.
Yeah,
Good
whatever.
riddance.
all right.
Plays 4 Jet.
Number 6, Regidrago. Specifically the VSTAR.
Regidrago VSTAR, one of the most dominant decks in the latter part of its lifetime. Because similar to Snorlax, the later it existed, the longer it took to accrue more cards for its card pool.
Similar idea.
Yeah, similar idea. It's such an old card, and we're 2+ years past its first printing that when we first got it, it was kind of a joke. And then now it kind of accrued more tools through things like the printing of Teal Mask over Pontiacs, having energy switches disposal, and having a dearth of good attackers like
Yes.
Giratina VSTAR, Dragapult EX was huge.
Dragapult was probably the big
Kyurem.
one that catapulted it. But
Kyurem.
Kyurem definitely made it.
Giratina,
Even niche cards like Alolan Executor and Haxorus. Or
Yeah.
Zudra.
Gudra.
Yeah, it's really crazy how like just Twilight Masquerade as a set coming out made this like kind of bulk V from like a really old set, just arguably the best deck of the format overnight.
Yes.
Yeah, solely because of the energy colors it jived with. Even the fire energy, when it played Radiant Charizard as a one prize attacker option.
This card kind of has to leave the format, I feel like, at this point, because if this card didn't leave rotation, I feel like we'd be stuck with just another year of Drago at this point. I can't imagine something just taking it out of the format at this point.
Legacy Star, huge consistency. Buff to the card, and of course just having a plethora of attacks.
It lets you use your ace spec twice. There's
Yes.
not a lot of decks that can say that.
Pretty big deal for that card, but I think a lot of decks are going to enjoy not having to deal with Kyurem in every single matchup.
Yep.
But
And then turn 2 Dragapult attack really easy.
yeah.
Or even turn 2 280 from Giratina V-Star's attack. Number 5.
Number 5, we got Cody's favorite deck
My
here.
personal favorite.
Lugia, and we also shoved Archeops in this. Cody, I feel like out of all of us, Guffey, you can also talk on this because
Yes.
you got a pretty good placement once with Lugia.
Oh yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah.
I played less than 5 games of the deck beforehand, and I just like showed up and like didn't have to put any effort into it.
For those who don't know, our good friend Nathan Guffey over here did go, what, 8-0 or 9-0?
801.
801.
801.
In day one of Swiss at Fort Wayne Regionals
Yeah.
in 2023. And then Cody Bird did top 32 the
Baltimore
Regionals. With
Minus
Lugia.
car plus $1,000.
So we've got two Lugia experts here.
So Lugia, or Archeops being insanely powerful with the ability Lugia enabling you to have 2 out without any rare candies or evolving or anything like that, enables some really silly strategies. Well, not silly, but like attackers that you wouldn't normally put all in the same deck, but you can just shove everything in the same deck because you're just exploding a bunch of special energies on the board at the same time. Mencino's a huge one, even using stuff like Iron Hands and Water Ogre Pawn with the Legacy Energy. Legacy Energy has made this deck insanely good as well. Weird Ear being a huge attacker with minimal setup, as long as you just have some energies on board already.
With the loss of Aurora energy through the rotation of D block.
Yeah.
It nerfed Lugia a little bit, but with the inclusion of Legacy Energy, we can now play more colors of Pokemon.
Legacy Energy, being the most relevant card now, allows Lugia to kind of steal some games. As long as it gets set up, it's not been the most consistent thing. It's always been a dominant threat, especially when we're talking about Silver Tempest format. It just won everything. Not so much today, but it's still an obvious threat that people are not going to have to think about anymore. Number 4.
Sort of a cop-out answer, but we have Forest Seal Stone, and with that, we're also shoving Rotom and Luminion in the list, because I feel like you rarely are going to see one of these without the others.
Yeah, we're kind of just lumping this concept of the V package, is what we're calling it, with any support V Pokemon that you play, like Luminion, Rotom, even attackers that you have, like Raichu V and Tape. Raichu V, another one that utilizes Forest Seal Stone very well. Forest Seal Stone, pretty easy cop-out inclusion in any deck that plays V Pokemon that doesn't have another more valuable V-Star power. Just searching your deck for one card is pretty good.
It's a huge enabler for Rotom, which is kind of a mediocre card without it. I think the draw 3 is okay for evolution decks or setup decks. Luminion V obviously powerful by itself, but they're both really enabled by Forest Seal Stone and Arven, where you can just search a card early in the game for no reason.
Forest Seal Stone, when it came out originally, was just a way for these decks that were either playing VMAXs or just playing basic Vs to have access to this once per game mechanic they printed. Over time, there's very few reasons not to just shove a Forest Seal Stone in your deck.
Guffey?
Any thoughts on Forest Seal Stone or the V package?
Oh yeah, it was kind of a mistake. It came out in a mistake sentence.
Shout out to Earth and Sealstone and Sky Sealstone, two much worse
Yeah, shout out to
Sealstones,
them.
but Sky Sealstone did see play.
I did see play. That was a decent card because you had to use Zacian V. It's great.
I think it's time for a change, just getting rid of this once per game mechanic.
Makes Arven a little more balanced.
Yeah, true. Arven doesn't just get every card out of your deck now anymore.
Yeah. It's still good. It's still very good.
There's enough good tools for Arven to still maybe be a card.
Yes, it is.
But I think now it's going to be a lot more of a consideration because half of the thing it searches for isn't nearly as impactful. A couple honorable mentions before we get into our top 3. First honorable mention, Manaphy, most efficient bench barrier Pokemon that we have access to. Rapska exists, but like
There's nothing like Manaphy that's not replacing it.
Arcstar, they won a world championship. Starbirth is still an insane ability. Irida, good consistency card for water decks. As we're going to get into later, we're losing one of the most important water Pokemon, so Irida loses a lot of power with that. Magma Basin enabled so many of these fire decks. The only acceleration those decks really had for the most part. Barrel, draw till 5. Pretty good consistency.
Another world champion.
It has won a Worlds, which is more than some of these cards on this list. Thornton, this one has been making a lot more of a comeback as of recent years. This card was a meme when it first came out.
No, I believed in it. Nobody believed in me in Thornton.
I believed in Thornton in a regionals, and I did terrible with it.
Yeah, because Dragapult EX is such a big threat with its Phantom Dive attack, taking out little Pokemon like Duskull, Pidgey, and even Charmander. Thornton just has so much value now as a recovery piece to be able to execute your strategy in the face of such a dominant deck like Regidrago VSTAR.
It keeps you in the game.
We got Radiant Charizard. It does really big damage on a one-prizer.
Probably the most broken one-prize attacker ever printed.
This didn't make the 10 because of Blood Moon or
Blood Moon. There's sort of a replacement, but nothing's gonna necessarily replace the single prize that can nuke like most things. Palkia VSTAR.
Extremely dominant upon release.
Yeah, very dominant on release. Star Portal is one of those V-Star powers that's just so good to run.
The 2022 Worlds was literally just Palkia and decks that beat Palkia, i.e. Arceus Pikachu.
Yeah. Even after that format, though, Palkia's always had like weird like pop-ups here and there in the game as almost like an anti-meta deck. And now with Area Zero, there's even arguments to still continue playing Palkia all these years later. This last honorable mention I'm a little biased towards, but Raichu V, it's been the only lightning attacker we've had realistically in the format that is like an auto-detonate button. And without that, Miraidon still can exist post-rotation, but it just loses a lot of that firepower it had, just being able to always threaten a knockout on any Pokemon.
We mentioned Raichu V earlier in the Force Sealstone package, but we're mentioning it here again as an attacker more so than a support piece, because yes, it can hold a Force Sealstone and get you a combo piece, but it's also a huge nuke button that you can hit to knock out anything in one hit.
Number 3!
We have Pok'eStop. Arguably one of the strongest stadiums I feel like they printed.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there with some of the most broken ones they made. A stadium that just draws you 3 cards in a lot of situations is unheard of.
It also sometimes just discards the top 3 cards of your deck.
True.
It does do that sometimes.
Yeah. So we will be missing really great moments like that. I've had plenty of moments playing Chen Pao at a regionals where I'd play against Lost Zone players and they'd mill like water Colras off of my Pok'eStop. Which, that always just feels really great.
That one time I used my opponent's Pok'eStop to mill Archeops energy.
True. It's a
V-Star.
Lugia consistency card when you're down bad.
No, when you're down bad.
It might be one of the most underrated stadium cards, because upon release, people were kind of confused as to what archetypes it would go into. They're like, it could go into turbo archetypes to make them a little bit better, but it could also go into like control archetypes because they play so many item cards that a Pok'eStop will probably net you 3 cards.
Yep, highs are very high, its lows are, whatever.
Very low.
Very low. It's become a draw engine.
Night Stretcher coming out of Shrouded Fable, I feel like made this card get tipped over the scale.
Yep.
Because being able to now mill Pokemon with no consequence and just being able to get them back to your hand.
Yep.
Shout out to pre-rotation, pre-Scarlet and Violet, when you could Pok'eStop into tool cards. Because they used to be item cards. You could Pok'eStop into Forest Sealstone. Who remembers that?
I did. Pok'eStop Mew was a pretty big deck that a lot of people were playing. Every deck that's playing Stop right now, it's going to be really difficult to find like a good replacement that does that kind of effect.
It's a healthy nerf for the turbo decks, I think.
True, yeah.
Number 2!
We have Radiant Greninja. What is there to say about this card? Insane consistency, insane attacker.
And it's a big basic. 130 health on a basic one price Pokemon is crazy.
It's pretty good.
It's water type. It synergizes with Irida.
There's almost no reason to play other Radiants. Sure, Radzard is there. Some other Radiants have niche applications.
None of them hold a candle to Greninja.
No, it's not even close.
It's everything you could ask for in one.
It's so good. Most decks don't even play it with the attack. The ability by itself is just broken.
And if you do play Water Energy, you've got a broken attacker. If you're playing Palkia, if you're playing Excalibur deck, if you're playing a Lost Zone deck that plays Mirage Gate, you can power it up in one turn.
The card decides so many games on both angles of like, sometimes you just set up the attack and you win on turn 2 because your opponent can't set up. And sometimes you lose because it's in your prize cards and you can't set up.
The only reason we didn't put it at number 1 is because it has not won a World Championships in the Masters.
Yeah,
Juniors.
It's gotten second at 2 of them, right?
Yes, because Tord played it in Gardevoir. I think Sinnosuke played it in Turbo Moon. Number 1 card has won the World Championships.
Every time.
Every year it's been legal. And if you can guess it in the comments, let us know.
Number 1!
It's double turbo energy. I mean, every time they print energies that make multiple energies, they've always been good. The cost of doing 20 less damage,
nothing.
Near insignificant.
Yeah, when so many Pokemon that the card uses can boost their own damage too, it doesn't really matter that much. Arceus, back in the day when it was first on the scene, applied Choice Belt to knock out the basic Pokemon V all the time, and even jumping into the future with Iron Thorns, they have the option of Future Booster Energy Capsule to offset that damage decrease from the double turbo energy. But anything that can use 2 colorless energy in its attack cost can use this card, which is a lot of Pokemon.
It's enabled Lugia, Arceus. It's enabled Terapagos.
Yeah, Cloth as of late as well is a really
Cloth.
big user of it. Iron Thorn's not having to run Generator and just having access to the special energy.
Pidgeot.
Pidgeot decks, yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
Pidgeot control. So now, even in rotation, when we lose access to like Mawile, you can saw block something, but you're going to be dealing that 20 damage eventually. It's going to go down. With double turbo leaving, there's so many decks that are currently in standard that honestly probably would be good post rotation.
They're just
But
gonna not be good.
they don't have a 1 energy attack anymore. Now it's you have to jump through hoops with like Glass Trumpet with Terapagos or something.
You can even use it to accelerate the attacks of Blood Moon or Saluna EX and Radiant Charizard.
Yep.
Just to make them attack even sooner with their broken attacks and
Blood Moon will be
bajillion
losing that
damage.
card.
I don't think you can make great arguments for saying something's more impactful lost than double turbo in my books.
Yeah.
It did win Worlds every year. It won it with Andre Skubal playing Arceus. It won with Vance Kelly playing Mew VMAX, and it won with Fernando Cifuentes playing
Dude,
Iron Thorns.
won.
Double Turbo Energy, best card to be losing in this format. What do you think, Oreo? What do you think about Double Turbo Energy?
This is probably the second or third time we've had like a double colorless energy leave the format.
Yeah, because we had Twin Energy and D-Block. But
Yeah.
that was only for non-rule box Pokemon.
Well, I was going all the way back to like base set.
Yeah, and Double Colorless has been an infamous card ever since it's existed.
They tried to nerf it, didn't work.
We'd love to hear your lists in the comment section. What
Yes.
you think the top 10 most impactful losses in rotation are going to be.
Did we get it wrong? Did we get it right? Should Radiant Greninja be number 1 because of how broken it is?
Yeah, feel free to share any of these opinions. We're more than happy to discuss.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll see you guys soon.
Spoon Squad out.
Okay, so we have all these cards, but we did forget one more.
Number 0, Radiant Alakazam.
It's truly the Spoon Man.
What if we did it with the water?